Alright, let's refer to our three-pronged list again. We know that Aisha and Nex have a lot of reasons for liking each other. They both have similar interests and are sporty, active people, and they both have a strong personality trait that the other loves. Nex loves how determined and competitive Aisha is and how brave she is, and Aisha loves how unashamedly Nex shows his emotions, although this can get him in quite a bit of trouble, but it can also result in a lot of good things. I personally was very invested in them early on, but as I said in the last video, I sort of understand how other people got the wrong impression of him upon their first viewing. We also often get to see Nex interact with the other specialists, and sometimes even the other winks, so we have a good feel for his personality outside of their relationship. Honestly, some of his funniest scenes are when he's just interacting with the guys.
Look out, Nex! There's a shark on your tail!
But is it a dolphin?
Looks like you both lost. How very disappointing for you. But how totally fun for us.
Poverina, deve aver vissuto davvero un forte trauma. Si sarà spaventata vedendo la tua faccia, Nex.
Ah, molto divertente, Brandon.
Andiamo ancora con quella storia.
Ricordo solo che il nostro pilota ci ha fatti quasi schiantare.
Beh, ricordi male.
Aisha and Nex continue to develop their relationship in Season 7 and 8, and in the comics. In Season 7, the two are trying to figure out how to even handle Squonk, and it's like a weird glimpse into how they would function as parents. Like, Aisha's instinct is just gentle scolding, but Nex can tell that it's not working, so he tries to be more firm, but then he ends up offending Squonk and almost getting him and Helia flooded out of the room. A few episodes later, Nex tries Aisha's way of animal care, and the result is one of the most underrated scenes in Winx Club history.
Statistically, animals respond well to cuddling. Do your best.
Squonk? Just calm down, buddy, okay? Don't make any more trouble. It's time for you to try to be nice and good. Huh? Oh.
Aisha and Nex's couple comic is issue 141, La Prova di Nex, or in English, Nex's Test. And basically, the plot is Nex kind of makes a fool of himself trying to impress Aisha's parents. So then Terrador is like, you're a braggart and you're not right for my daughter. And then Nex is like, well, what can I do to prove to you that I'm not? And then Terrador sends him to go fight some, like, snake woman or something. And it's cute. It really shows off how Nex wants to be liked by people. Like, as much as he acts like he doesn't care about other people, he really does a whole lot. And this comic shows that off very well. Like, he doesn't... It's not that he tries to be nice to Terrador, so, like, oh, if I'm not nice to him, then I won't get to keep Aisha. He does it because he just genuinely wants his girlfriend's dad to like him. This comic really shows off the best of Nex, so if you have not read it, I definitely recommend that you do. And I've already talked about the Cyrenix arc and their development in that, so I won't go over it again, but suffice to say, Rainbow has not yet run out of stories to tell about these two, and I don't think they will for a long while. Why? Because I still haven't even mentioned all of the symbolism surrounding Aisha and Nex. Hold on, folks, because we're about to get mildly existential up in here. Let's start with something basic yet mind-blowing. The meanings of Aisha and Nex's names. They may seem like normal names, but just you wait. Aisha is an Arabic name that, depending on your translator, means alive, she who lives, life, living, and lots of other stuff along those lines. Honestly, it's very fitting for her, considering that water is necessary for life, and that she has had the most random plot twists in her life out of all the Winx, except possibly Bloom, because that girl's life is a mess. Nex is a Latin word that means death, violent death, murder, slaughter, blood of the slain, or just natural death. For some reason, ancient Rome had a lot of different words for death, so when you put Aisha and Nex's names together, you have life and death. This may just seem like an interesting tidbit, but it connects to a much larger theme with this couple. Opposites attracting. also known as the yin and the yang. Yin and yang are fundamental principles of Taoism, a Chinese philosophy and religion. Taoists believe that, though some things may seem like complete opposites, they can actually be quite alike and very beneficial to each other, so they use the yin and yang to symbolize and explain this concept. The yin is the dark swirl, and it typically represents that which is calm and somewhat passive, though it can also be quite strong and forceful. Also, because historical Chinese gender roles just had to work their way into this, yin usually represents the feminine, because, women aren't supposed to actually do things and should always be passive to their husbands and fathers. The yang is the light swirl, and it represents that which is typically more active and forceful, and it also represents that which is, air quotes, traditionally masculine. The point of yin and yang is not that one is better or worse than the other. They both have their place, and they both contain a little bit of each other. That's what the little dots in the swirl symbolize. As an example, let's say that you're in a conflict with a coworker. At first, you should try and resolve the conflict peacefully. This would be a yin action. However, if the conflict escalates, you may have to leave the situation and then go vent your anger to John from accounting. That would be a yang action. We need both types of actions to thrive as humans. We shouldn't go out looking for conflict and screaming at people, but we also need to be able to stand up for ourselves and express our emotions. Additionally, many forces of nature are both yin and yang, depending on the circumstances. For example, a dead flower that has been plucked from the ground is yin, but a growing, living flower is yang. Or, if we want to directly reference Aisha and Nex's elemental powers, water is yin when it is sitting calmly in a lake, but it is yang when it rises up into a great wave. And the wind is normally yang when it's blowing you all around, but when it stops moving and simply becomes air, then it is yin. I think we can all guess who is the yin and yang in this relationship. Aisha is usually calmer than Nex, where Nex is prone to making decisions without thinking them through beforehand and very easily acting on his emotions, whereas Aisha has a tendency to bottle them up. Plus, the gender associations line up. However, I find it interesting that their names contradict this assessment. Life is usually associated with yang, while death is attached to yin. This may seem like it breaks the entire theory apart, but remember, the key here is opposites that contain pieces of each other. So I don't think the reversal of name meanings here renders these observations invalid, although it is slightly confusing and irritating. We can see the theme of yin and yang in Aisha and Nex's interactions and in their appearances. I'll cover their personalities first. A lot of Winx fans say that Aisha and Nex seem like complete opposites, and therefore they probably wouldn't work well in a relationship. And while these two are quite different, they're also very similar. I mean, some of the similarities are obvious. They both like sports, are competitive, have a leadership instinct, but they also share some more negative traits like arrogance, stubbornness, and a difficulty interacting with people, albeit in very different ways. However, they also have many differences. Aisha can usually not act on her emotions, and she has a tendency in the early seasons to assume that people dislike her as much as she dislikes herself, whereas Nex can be very impulsive and tends to assume that other people like him and understand his intentions when they absolutely do not. But despite these differences, they work really well together as a team, and they've grown to love each other. Such is the nature of yin and yang. All of their personality contrasts become even more evident once we take a look at their character designs and how that also embodies the yin and yang. To start, if we were to describe Aisha and Nex's skin tones in colloquial Earth terms, we would call them black and white. Guys, their entire relationship is literally a visual pun. How can you not love it? But yes, their skin colors do contrast. Also, take note of their hair and eye colors. Aisha has brown hair and blue eyes, and Nex has blue hair and amberish yellow eyes with shades of brown in them. Plus, Aisha has hair that's long and wavy like the ocean, and Nex has hair that's straight and spiky and almost resembles fire. Also, Aisha tends to wear cooler colors like blue and green, while Nex usually goes for warmer colors like red and yellow. They are designed to be complete visual opposites while still having elements of each other. How freaking cool is that? And with the hair and eye colors, they have the same color palette, but it manifests in different places and intensity. Also, these colors are kind of like how Aisha and Nex both have their gentle and their abrasive moments, just in different contexts and in different intensities, Like how they both have warm and cool colors that just show up in different places and shades. Like, guys, they are literally the yin and yang. Also, I realized that Aisha's other love interests tie into this color scheme too. I doubt that this was intentional because Rainbow probably doesn't work this far ahead on things, but it is still very interesting, and when I noticed this, I thought my brain was going to literally explode. Naboo has skin that's, like, darker but still slightly lighter than Aisha's. His hair is the same color as hers, and his eyes are a deep blue, and for clothing he usually wears purple with dashes of yellow, although he does sometimes wear navy blue. All of this would seem to indicate that Naboo is just a variation of Aisha's yin. He has some differences from her, such as being more calm and inexplicably better with people, but he doesn't truly balance her out like Nex does. He's just the same idea, but in different shades. Roy has a very similar skin tone to Aisha, brighter but still warm hair, blue-gray eyes, and he usually wears blue and green, like Aisha does. In other words, he barely balances her out at all, and they don't really complement each other that well. I also noticed that this kind of also works with Aisha's best friend. Well, I mean, Rainbow says that Flora is her best friend, but, like, come on. We all saw Season 2 Musa is her best friend. Musa actually has a somewhat similar color scheme to Nex. The two both have light skin and often wear red, though for a while Musa was wearing cooler colors like purple and pink, but in Season 8 she seems split between the two color schemes. She also has hair that is either dark blue or black, but I'm just gonna count it as a cool color anyway. The only discrepancy is her blue eyes, but still, two of the people that Aisha gets along with really well wear red and have blue hair and light skin. All of this color symbolism is awesome. But my personal favorite bit of metaphor in all of this is that after having her fiancé pass away, Aisha has fallen in love with death. She has accepted that Naboo's gone and managed to embrace all of the wonders that life has in spite of death and even because of it. And as a result, she has found and been able to appreciate a man who supports and loves her with all of his heart and that she feels the same love for. She has moved on, she has found love again, and she is happy. And I don't understand why people refuse to just accept that and appreciate the beauty that is right in front of them. Before I end this, I would just like to give a mild disclaimer. I understand that at certain points of this video I got a bit sarcastic, because as I've mentioned, I do that. And I fear that I came off as quite condescending at times, and as if I was implying that, like, you have to ship Aisha and Nex, and you have to dislike Roy and Naboo because they're flawed characters. That isn't what I was trying to say. Honestly, I understand liking something even though it's flawed. Like, for a more recent example, Toy Story 4. That movie sucks in places, but I love it, okay? Like, it's just a thing. So, yeah, if you still like Aisha and Roy after hearing out my opinions, that's fine, as long as you actually heard my opinions out and didn't just completely disregard them the entire time. And if you listen to my opinions about Nex and you still don't like him, as long as you heard me out, that's fine. So, basically what I'm trying to say is, it's okay for people to have a different opinion than me, as long as they're willing to listen to my opinion, okay? So, like, yeah, I just wanted to clear that up, because I felt like I came off as mildly aggressive in parts of this, so, sorry for that, but that's gonna be the end of this video. Will I be returning next time? Who knows? Bye!